Assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much for inviting me to come to the conference, but I'm very sorry I cannot make it due to some health reasons which happened recently. I have decided with Professor Talip Alp that perhaps the least thing I can do is to send you a video recorded message. My message starts first by expressing my gratitude and thanks to the municipality and the Baladia of Midyat, to the organizers of this conference. I understand this is the inaugural conference of a new foundation by the name of Artuklu, Foundation for Science and Civilization. It's a very, very nice name, similar to the name of the foundation that we have in Manchester. So thank you so much. I would have liked actually to have come personally, because Midyat is a very particular city relating to, of course, the whole area of Al-Jazari, which is where Jizra is and where Al-Jazari has lived and written his book. Abul-Izz Ismail Al-Jazari is really the main subject of my talk. It's only just to say salam and thank you. Wish you all the very best for your conference, but also to review some of the work which we did on Al-Jazari, but using modern mechanical 3D animations, which we had to analyze all his machines and produce 3D animations of them. So I'll show you some of them. And then, well, I'd like to also mention a few words about why we're doing this. And hopefully at the end, I'd like to summarize by why is it so important to look at works such as Al-Jazari's work. Now, the next PowerPoint slides, which I'm going to be reviewing, is to do with the Al-Jazari's inventions. I'm saying that what's so special. Right, the picture here on the right, you will later see I'll be speaking about. That's my name. I'm Emeritus Professor at the University of Manchester, UK, and also President of the Foundation for Science, Technology and Civilization. Now, the book which Al-Jazari has written is the only book that we know of. It's called Al-Jami' Bayn al-Ilmi wal-Amal an-Nafi' fi Sina'at al-Hiyal. I've written the English letters for it so you can pronounce it in Turkish or English. But the translation, the best translation I could find is a compendium on the science and useful deeds in the mechanical arts. Concentrate on the word useful deeds, which is really very interesting. His name, most of you know because he is from your area. His name is Abul-Izz Ismail ibn al-Razzaz, nicknamed and famous as Al-Jazari. He was actually asked by Al-Malik Nasir al-Din Mahmud ibn Muhammad bin Qara. He was one of the sultans of the Artuks in Diyarbakir during the era of the Abbasid Caliphate, Abu al-Abbas Ahmad al-Nasir al-Dinillah, in the year 1181. And he has taken 25 years to finish this book. He said in his book, he finished around 1206. We don't know a great deal about Al-Jazari, but it's important that I'm sure every one of you must have heard about it and looked for it. But what I would like to take this opportunity is to look at something that really has been the main reason why I got interested in this subject, and many people have then become aware of this. And that is there is a gap in history of science as taught in schools and universities. This gap is described very easily seen by a very famous book called Science and Inventors, Scientists and Inventors. And this is it's entitled The People Who Made Technology from the Earliest Times to the Present Day, which means you know, you're going to be able to very quickly have a look at the whole history of science and technology. And this is with pictures. Each scientist and each inventor has got 2 pages in this book. It's a coffee table, large book. And when you look and turn the pages, you reach Archimedes, and that is the year 287 before the BCE, right? And then he jumps to the year 1400 CE, which is, you know, going to Johannes Gutenberg. Now that is really incredible. Yeah, then after that, he goes to Leonardo da Vinci. This is an incredible thing. And in fact, when we did a lot of research and found out that most of the science and technology are taught by many education systems, schools and universities, they have a gap. This gap is more than 1,000 years, which is sort of, they give you names of scientists and so on in the Greeks and Roman period, and then they jump all the way to the European Renaissance, and then after that, the Industrial Revolution, and then modern day civilization. So the gap in between, sometimes it's called Dark Ages, sometimes it's called Medieval Age. But when you fill this gap by the contributions of other civilizations, it should look like it is. But unfortunately, it's missing. And when you can, you know, sort of look at this and see earlier on these earlier civilizations in Mesopotamia and Egypt and so on, and then you get to the Greeks, the Persian, Roman, of course, then Chinese during that time. After that, you have also the Indian, then the Muslim civilization, which is sometimes called Islamic civilization, but I rather use the word Muslim civilization because really it is the civilization of people, not of a particular, I mean, of course it is inspired by Islam, but it's not civilization of Islam. It is the Muslims who have made that civilization based on their Islamic teaching, Quran, Hadith, and their the customs of wherever they are, whether they were in Indonesia or Turkey or North Africa or Al-Andalus in Spain. They have their own cultural habits and social traits, but they also are guided by Islam. And hence we call it Muslim civilization. It doesn't mean we exclude non-Muslims. Non-Muslims have lived quite happily, male and female, from various races and cultures within that civilization. Then followed after that is the Renaissance, and as you see that. What is interesting is that the Al-Andalus, which was the Muslim civilization in Spain and Portugal, for around 750 years. I put a red arrow there and wrote Al-Andalus on the top. It almost fills that gap in Europe, and yet Europeans, unfortunately, don't mention this. Whenever they mention Islam civilization, they refer to the Muslim world outside Europe. But when you look at Al-Andalus, the Muslim world was actually part of Europe. And of course, later on during the Ottoman period, East Europe was mainly for more than for a few hundred years. So this is something of a background. What I now would like to do is to go straight to Al-Jazari and look at his contributions. And I'm going to be using pictures, some of them from his book on the left-hand side, and on the right-hand side is recreated his work using engineering drawings, and then looking at the mechanics. We've done a lot of work on mechanics, equations, and so on, looking at the material, but then reproduce them in motion pictures in 3 dimensions like that. What you see here is a reciprocating pump. The most important application that Al-Jazari is known to be the first to have done is to convert rotary motion into linear motion. So you can see that the wheel at the back, which turns by water, it's moving pistons on the left and on the right, and this is a pump that sucks water from the river and then pushes it up the river to the fields. So there we are. You know, this is really, I think, one of his most, until today, people use this the concept of this pump in various parts of the world. and hence he is really a great pioneer for that. Some of these also genius ways of raising water was that he has used what we call converting again the rotary motion into linear motion. But this here, as you see, takes water from the river and then uses a scoop to turn around, and then put the water onto the other side. The motion is this time driven by an animal will be on the top, which I have not shown. He has also combined multiple of this machine so that you can get more efficiency, you get more scoops, more water by using combinations of gears that have teeth that are missing in some places, or more or less like gear cams. And these cams are connected together so that these scoops can turn one after the other in sequence. Now, this is really another area where he worked on, and this was a fantastic field, which he has used a beaker which has got water. It's a vessel. It has a hole underneath, and as the water falls down, it sort of he uses this as a timer. First, he has used this to sort of to show a time. You get a guy on the top, a scribe, somebody with a pointer, and turns around and shows the time. But the way it works is that this water, as it comes down, there has a float, and as it comes down, it pulls the pulley, and this pulley turns round, and hence you get this controlled motion. The fact that this beaker is shaped in this way is to make sure that it goes down uniformly so that the rotation will be on a uniform speed. Then he uses this concept, the idea of taking water out, seeping out from a vessel as the main controller of a very sophisticated clock. This is called the castle clock, or sometimes called the drummer's clock. It's actually a fascinating piece of work, a computer full of control systems, mechanically connected. There are wheels and cam rods. You find that there will be doors will be open each hour, and then a falcon throws a ball from its beak onto the vase, making sound, so that each time the hour passes, you hear the sound. And then also he uses a system where these little robots in front of the castle clock, they will be moving like musicians, and they play music. The controlling system is this, the timer, so that as water comes down, then this bucket falls, sort of moves, pushes a connector, and then the ones on the bottom left, you'll see that these shafts rotate, and they are the ones which operate those musicians. And as you see, these musicians there, they are actually one beating drum, one is blowing a trumpet, and so on. So this is really a fascinating control system where he is linked timing, mechanical movements, gears, valves, water flow, and all together to have a controlled machine, which is at that time is quite advanced. The other one, which looks beautiful, and he called it the peacock clock, which is the Taus, Sa'at al-Taus. And of course, you would probably know that the book that he has written it in Arabic. So Sa'at al-Taus here, he's got three. You got a mother, a big mother, we call peahen, and then it's got the chicks, two small chicks, and then at the end, at the bottom, you've got a big peacock. So you have a family of peacocks in here, two kids with a mother and a father. I'm going to sort of look at this, and we built and we understood how it actually works. And as you see, these taus, these big peacocks, they move every interval. You can time it by playing around with the gears in the system, and this gears and this, they are described here. I'm not going to go into details to bore you with the mechanics of it, but as you see, it's quite complicated. The bit that I mean, this actually we have an animation in here which shows how the as the water comes down and this fills this bucket and it moves, and that this peacock here turns around and so on. The mechanism that controls it is a very simple system, but it was genius at the time, where he will have more or less like a tick-tock system. Water falls here, come down, and this little tongue comes in here and turns the wheel, and hence you get a motion. This is sort of the whole overall mechanism, and I have put in here how these actually are linked and work together. Again, I'm not going to be going into details with you, but there are fantastic arrangements of a water turbine here, of wheels with gaps in between the teeth, and then you've got these wheels are connected together to a timer, and then you've got this here shows the time where when this wheel rotates, it actually gives you the time. That's a close-up of how it actually works. As this bucket here fills, raises this pulley there all the way, as you see, and then it falls, and then the peacocks, if you have noticed, actually turn around. The guy must have been a genius to be able to actually get those. And remember, there were no computers at that time, so how many times he had to do trial and error, we don't know. The most spectacular clock that he did, which I'm really so impressed with. This is why I took the first slide I showed you was myself standing next to a huge model that we have done. This is called the elephant clock, Sa'atul Fil. It really, the most important feature of it, apart from being very advanced in control systems, but it brings in together different sort of designs from various cultures and civilizations. You see, it has an elephant, Indian. You've got Persian carpets or Turkish carpets there, and then you've got a Chinese dragon. You have a phoenix here, which represents the Egyptian pharaonic civilization, and then you've got Muslim Sultan in here. Some people say he was referring to Sultan Salah ad-Din al-Ayyubi, because the Artuks are related to Salah ad-Din al-Ayyubi. And I'll show you now and how this whole thing works. And here you have the guy who was supposed to guide the elephant. Let's just have a quick look on how it actually works. This the elements are here. You can see them with the balls falling from the top. There are a number of balls that falls down, and then as the gate with the top, let them one at a time at certain intervals. The Chinese dragon bring the ball down, and it falls into this, making sound, and then makes this the driver of the elephant actually moves. And as you know, with the elephants in India, they unfortunately, in order to guide the elephant, they have to prink it with a hammer so that it goes right or left. And then the controller of the time here is in this tank, where you have a bucket. It gets filled with water and it tilts. When it tilts, it pulls a pulley, and then it allows one ball to fall from the top. And the one who shows the time is this man here wearing a turban, referring to Islam. And on the top also, this sultan here also turns right and left to allow the ball to fall. Fascinating piece of work. So we've done a huge model of this, which then later on was used as the central piece for the exhibition, which we called 1001 Inventions. It started from Manchester, went into London. And by the way, when we started in London, Mr. Recep Tayyip Erdogan, your president, at that time he was prime minister. He came to that exhibition, and when he saw it, he insisted that we should have it in Istanbul, and there was a great honor for us to go into the Sultan Ahmed in front of Hagia Sophia. They built the Baladiya there. They have built a special big tent for us, and we put this exhibition during Ramadan of that year, and it was really one of the most successful exhibitions and conferences that actually we held. Many thousands, especially young people, came to that exhibition to see various discoveries and inventions of Muslims, male and female. So therefore, I would like to summarize what's so special about the inventions of Al-Jazari. First of all, these inventions were very advanced, but at the same time, they are not like present-day inventions, mechanical bits here and there. You all notice that he has used art. It was very artistic, and it makes it looking very pleasant. You know, looking at this, look at that on the right here, the elephant and how it sort of, and the decorations that he introduced on it. The next one is that he always introduced and recognized other cultures. Unfortunately, unlike what happened in the West, they have neglected when they brought technology and science and so on, although they have taken most of it from the Muslim world and from China and India, but they have not really recognized it. You know, that doesn't appear in even the textbooks that we have in the Muslim world. When you look at your own textbooks in English and in Turkish on your science books, unfortunately, you don't find thousands of names that are missing, like Al-Jazari, and so he recognized by mentioning where he got the sources from and where he got the designs from and how he combined them. And then the latter one is that he has said the title of the book, Al-Jami' بين العلم والعمل النافع, the compendium, the bringing together of science, knowledge, and useful work, useful deeds. And that is actually a concept from the Quran, where we are asked to always, when we live and conduct in our behavior and our what we call in Arabic mu'amalat, is to always aim at being useful to people, always useful to people, to the environment, to animals, and make sure that your contribution on this life, in this life, is positive, and hence al-amal al-nafi'. This is really my contribution for this conference. I wish you all the very best. I hope that this conference will be having a resounding success. I'm sorry to miss you. Thank you so much, and also wish your foundation, the Artuklu Foundation for Science and Civilization, to be successful. Thank you.